My business has reached 7 figures, but what would I do if it disappeared and I had to start all over again? In this video, I want to map out how I would earn 10K a month from scratch, but also lay out a no BS step-by-step guide as to how you could do the same. I will describe how you find your model, how to create an offer, how to generate leads, and then how actually to get people to buy your offer. Let me tell you a story really quick. Meet Little Joost. Little Joost has nothing to lose. Little Joost is still at his 9 to 5, but is desperate to get into business. Does that sound a bit like you? He can't find the bridge to glue the gap between him at his 9 to 5 and future him who will be earning over 150K per month in his business. By the end of this video, you will know the exact 6-step formula that the future Joost had developed after investing hundreds of thousands of pounds into his own business. So here's how I would start all over again if I had to start from zero and go to 10K a month from scratch. Hopefully, I'm not turning you off at the first hurdle, but you need to be realistic with your starting point. What you need to do is learn. You might think the best way to learn is from people who have actually done it before. The really, really successful people, the ones who make millions and millions of pounds, which is true. But what if I told you these people aren't the right people for a beginner to learn from? But why? Don't get me wrong, they can still give you amazing value, but there is a limit as to how much time they can give you because they are so far ahead of you. If you want access to that time, it's going to cost you way more money. And what you need is one-to-one support. Signing up to a multi-millionaire's course isn't going to give you the education and the one-to-one support you need to build your business. What you should do is pick someone who has recently gone through that transformation that you want to go through. You will get far more value through one-to-one support that is far more available to you. Also, at a better price tag. Next, what you need to do is pick a high income skill. The truth is, you probably have a high income skill already. You just need to convert that from your job and the skills you have into a business. These skills can come from your job or even just hobbies. What tends to work really well is selling a management or agency style type of skill. For me, I've seen success with Airbnb management. Now, how did I get to this, you might ask? Well, like everyone else, I bought a course and it was the best decision I ever made, because it kicked off the journey that would change my life. Now, did I learn everything I ever needed from this course? No, but it sent me on a path and the direction that I am in now, which is why you need to invest in yourself, because you need to be able to make a change. So what you need to do is figure out a skill, learn one or pick one, and then you can start selling this skill. Now you have a skill, you need to create an offer. This is simply your skill packaged up, ready to sell to people who need it. This offer needs to be something which is unique, incomparable to other offers, and is super attractive. So how do we actually do this? Well, first you need to pick your market and pick it really, really carefully. What do you need to look at in a market? Pain, purchasing power, how easy are they to target, and is the market growing? So let me walk you through an example. Obviously, I'll use Airbnb management because that's literally my business. So let's start with pain. Does my market present pain? Well, yes. Landlords are really, really struggling in the property market at the moment with the renters reform bill, interest rates, etc., etc. Purchasing power. Landlords have the money to reinvest into their property to potentially turn it into an Airbnb. Are they easy to target? Through social media, networking events, groups, etc. Yes. And finally, is the market growing? The short-term rental market is continuously growing with more landlords bringing their properties on. So for us, we've got our market solved. But now what we need to do is niche down. Niching down means that there is less competition and it's more likely that you will be able to succeed in your niche market. This also increases the perceived value of you and your skill, as there is less people who know how to do it. I also teach my students this exact method as to how to nail down their niche, see their client profile so that it increases their value for their businesses. So what your offer needs is 4 elements. Now, I didn't create this whole equation. I took it from Alex Hormozy and then applied it to my own business. But I'm going to teach it here for you so you can see the value. The 4 elements are as follows. You need to pitch to someone's dream outcome, their perceived likelihood of achievement, i.e. the trust that you will get them to their dream outcome, And this is on the top half of the equation. On the bottom half of the equation is the time delay and effort and sacrifice that your prospect or client has to go through. You need to maximize that top half of the equation while minimizing the bottom half. So let's start with the dream outcome. Dream outcome is essentially the idea of the person that you're targeting. What is that person's dream outcome? So let's make it really easy and talk about health, wellness, and fitness. So fitness. My dream outcome is to have a six-pack, which obviously I do not have. Now, what's the perceived likelihood of achievement that I'm going to get them to their dream outcome? So let's say if you're offering a pill that gets me a six-pack instantly, and that's my dream outcome, and I see that hundreds of other people have taken this pill and they all got six-packs instantly, I'm very much going to believe that that pill is the solution to my problems, and therefore it's highly valuable to me. If I'm a landlord and I want to maximize my rental income and minimize my hassle, and I've seen that there's someone who has 50, 100 properties doing that exact same thing and has a lot of experience, that is very valuable. That's going to increase my perceived likelihood of achieving the dream outcome. Now, you may be saying, well, I don't have hundreds of testimonials. I don't have 50 properties to go off. That's where you need to talk about yourself. You talk about what experiences you have that qualifies you to help your prospect get towards their dream outcome. So that's the top half of the equation. That's how you create value. The second half is the time delay. If I took said pill, again, as the example, and that pill gave me a six-pack instantly, that would create more value than if it took 10 years to get the six-pack. Very simple. Shorten the gap between the promised results and how quickly they get them. Shorten that gap, create less time delay. Same with a landlord. If you say to them, well, I'm going to maximize your income through Airbnb, and then you say, oh, but it's going to take you 3 years to get that income, the landlord is not going to be very pleased. It's not very valuable. But if you say, I'll get you your first booking within 24 hours of going live, that's far more valuable. The final part of the equation is the effort and sacrifice. Every time someone buys something, there is a level of effort and or sacrifice they have to go through to purchase that thing. i.e., if I buy the six-pack pill and I do not have to go to the gym, I do not have to do anything, it just gives me a six-pack and muscles, again, creates more value. Same idea with our landlords. If we say you are not going to have to manage anything, it's going to be completely hands-off, that makes it very low effort for them. But there's still a sacrifice, as they might have to invest into the furniture, they might have to invest into you being the management company with an onboarding fee. There's all sorts of things there. That's sacrifice. They're sacrificing money to work with your offer. How do you create something that's ultra valuable? If you said to a landlord, and you would get landlords hand over fist if you did this, I'm going to manage your property for free for 12 months and I will pay for all the staging costs to convert it to an Airbnb. That would be incredibly valuable. A lot of people would take you up on that. You would grow your portfolio very quickly with that offer. Now, what you may lack and struggle with is that you may not be able to do that and you may not want to do that, which is fine. But then you can start to scale it back. So then you say, oh, 6 months for free and I won't pay for your staging, or 3 months for free and I won't pay for your staging, but I'll waive the onboarding fee. You start to dial your offer. The minimal amount of sacrifice you can make is super important. Working for free allows you to get clients and then convert them to paid customers after. And that's how you kind of build your value equation. With the equation defined, you need to understand how each of these four apply to your targeted customer. So what you do is you need to answer what their dream outcome is, what the perceived likelihood of achievement is, and how you can minimize the time delay and the effort and sacrifice that goes into what you are selling. With your offer, one thing you need to bear in mind is, are you selling something that's done for you, done with you, or is it something that they have to do themselves? With this in mind, you need to think about how easy it is to fulfill and how much you can charge for the value that you do. There is no point offering a done for you service if you can only take on one customer by offering that service. And if the value of the service isn't very high, that would be you wasting your time. What you need to do is create a model where you can take on customers, give them one offering at one price, and scale that upwards. So you need to make your offering scalable. If you can't take on and give the most bespoke service to loads of clients, unless you're charging a really high price point, it does not make it worth your time. So you need to find the balance between scalability. That's why Netflix, it's a do-it-yourself, you watch it. You watch it yourself, you sign in, you do everything. But the price point is really low. Whereas if you get custom art made for you, the artist can only do that once. So they do the art, but that's why they'll charge you a really high price point. So you need to understand where the levels of those services are. Hopefully that's given you some structure on how you can package up and sell your high value skill to potential customers. But the next thing we need to do is actually get customers. You need to generate leads. What are leads? Leads are people who are interested in working with your business. There are a few ways to generate leads: warm outreach, cold outreach, posting free content and building a brand, or running paid ads. In this circumstance, your best bet as a beginner with no money is creating content and building a brand in your niche, then doing warm outreach and cold outreach. So let's start with warm outreach. What is warm outreach? Warm outreach is essentially when you reach out to people who know who you are. So this can be your phone contacts, your Instagram followers, your email list, whoever it is. You want to build a list and you want to reach out to people who know who you are. What you're going to do is you're going to reach out to them, have a conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, you're going to either offer your products or services or ask if they know anyone who is interested in your products or services. And this is how you start to build warm outreach. Now, this is the first way that you can generate leads for your business. It means that you're reaching out to people who know who you are, so it makes it easier to try and convert them into customers, especially if you offer them something for free. Cold outreach requires the same execution, but the main difference is these are not people who know who you are. Cold in premise applies to people who don't know who you are, but they are not warmed up to the idea of you, your skill, or what you're trying to sell. So it makes it a lot harder and more time consuming, considering you need to warm them up and there's a lot of volume that has to be done. Where you can win with cold outreach is doing a high level of personalization. So if you reach out to someone and do an entire breakdown video on their property or their business or anything, whatever your services that you're trying to offer, you give them an entire breakdown, that creates value, and therefore they're going to want to speak to you. If you are not doing that and giving high levels of personalization, you need to send thousands of emails, thousands of messages, thousands of phone calls. This is why we have call centers, because people are just cold calling and dialing 100 people a day. And that's how you really can do it. Either you need to be really personalized with your cold outreach or really do a lot of volume with your cold outreach. One of the other ways you can start to generate leads is you can create content and build a brand in your niche, whether that's posting on social media, going to networking events, and building a brand in your local area for that niche. So I'd focus on starting to build a brand and posting content as it gets attention, and attention builds trust, and trust is what eventually turns into money. That's the whole game. Give value for free, people will want more, and eventually they'll want to buy from you. This is what I encourage all my students to do in the Airbnb Mastery program, and it's helped people like Fintan, Guy, Nikki, and Sophie generate leads for their Airbnb business by doing warm outreach, by posting content, earning more than they would in their 9-to-5s. Another thing that I would do is just network as much as I can with as many people as possible. All you need to do is just meet one person who's going to introduce you to someone else, and that could be the best thing that's ever happened to you and change your life. For example, I got introduced to the richest private landlord in Yorkshire. That would never have happened if I hadn't been networked in with the right people and they passed me on. The best thing you can do is start locally and then expand. Find a business within where you live. And for example, if it's helping a local restaurant with their social media, the best way to start is just go in and speak to them. So just to recap quickly, we have gone over your skill, how to target the market with that skill, how to package the skill into an offer, and then how to generate leads for that offer. This is exactly what I would do if I had to start from zero. But what would I do next? You need to convert these leads into paying customers. Now, I'm probably going to say something which you might not like that much, but what you will probably need to do is work for free or less than you think you are worth. People drastically overvalue their time and overvalue their skills. Doing this does a couple things for you, but let's start with a basic one. Firstly, working for free helps you gain experience with people and dealing with them in a business capacity. What it will also allow you to do is make minor mistakes without the massive pressure of knowing someone is actually paying you for that service. Now, I'm obviously not encouraging you to just go out and make blatant mistakes, but taking one thing that I've learned from one customer to the next is a great learning curve. What working for free will actually do is warm up those customers. When you work for free, you prove your skills right in front of the faces of the people you're trying to impress. What happens to those people after you've worked for free for them for a while? They become warmed up to you and they become warmed up to your offer. If they see value in it, you can eventually convert them into paying customers because it's so much easier to do this than trying to convert people straight into paying customers. If you have 5 cold leads, maybe one of them would convert. But if you had 5 leads who you were working with for free for 3 months, there is a high likelihood that you'd be able to convert 3 or 4 into actual paying customers. And this is how you build the backbone of your business to begin with. Obviously, you need to be able to deliver on your skill. And that's where the people see value. So that part is up to you. We have now converted our free customers into paying customers. But how can you really start to maximize the revenue that you gain from these customers? When you think about making money in business, what you're really trying to do is build a series of offers so people will buy multiple things from you multiple times. That's the whole game. A good offer is one that makes it easier to get customers while maximizing how much money you collect from those customers. Ideally in the first 30 days, the faster you collect money up front, the easier it is to scale, advertise, and reinvest back into the business for growth. In business, there are 4 main types of ways in which you can increase how much money you are generating. You can attract them, you can upsell them, you can downsell them, and you can have them pay you for a long period of time. First thing you need to do is you need to attract strangers to turn them into customers. Usually that happens by offering something for free or at a really big discount. There's a spectrum. The closer you get to free, the higher demand will be. The closer you get to full price, the lower demand will be. And that's why free works so well. It removes the risk and creates momentum and demand for your product or service. This is one thing I do in my Airbnb business, but I also teach other people to do in their businesses. Start for free, offer things like a free valuation, a free month of work to help landlords see the value in what they could be earning from their Airbnbs. And this is one of the many strategies I have learned and shared within my program to my students. Once someone takes your first offer, the next step is to upsell them. Every solution you potentially offer creates a new problem, and that new problem becomes the next thing that you can sell. The classic upsell is, do you want fries and a drink with that burger? It's really simple because now you've bought the burger, you want the fries, and you want the drink. The customer feels like they're getting something for less, but actually you're increasing how much money and value they spend with you. This is why it's such a great way to maximize revenue from each customer. The next thing is you want to keep them paying you for as long as possible. The goal is not to sell one person one thing and move on. It's to sell more people less stuff, but keep getting paid every single month. That's how the amount you make from each person gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you don't lose a lot of customers, the business becomes predictable, the revenue becomes predictable, and it makes the company scalable and then sellable in the future. The longer you can increase the continuity of signups with bonuses like join here and get X free, or ongoing perks like if you stay an extra month, you'll get this discount or this package or this title. You know, people love being recognized as VIPs, insiders, founders, rewards, discount, the list goes on and on and on. But you can get these people to commit for long term. For example, get your first and last month free if you sign a 12-month agreement. Bill every 4 weeks instead of monthly, which quietly adds a 13th payment to the year. I just want to share with you how easy the process actually is from A to Z when you map it out. And this is the exact process I've used to scale my Airbnb business to over 150K a month. A bonus step, step 7. This is the easiest. What you need to do now is just repeat. When you create your offer, discover the best way to generate leads and then convert it, you'll be able to start printing money and growing quickly. Once you get to this point, what you need to be able to do is scale and automate delivery. If you can give the customers that are buying from you the service they want at a very scalable way with less hassle for you and your business and the teams you work with, you'll be able to grow faster. Do this again and again and again, your business will grow indefinitely. That's why people have different tiers, like a done for you service, which is super expensive, a done with you service, which is slightly less expensive, and then a do it yourself service, which is really not that expensive. And this is how you can sell different tiered packages and scale out in different ways. That wraps up this video of how I would start all over again from scratch. This isn't just theory, this is an exact step-by-step process that I have now used to scale my business up to 150K a month. And maybe in the future, I will dive into each step into a little bit more detail for now. But hopefully that's giving you some value and some thought as to what steps you need to take to build and start your business. If you want to learn more about what is the best business to start in 2025, then you should watch the next video.